This is the Good Government Show.
I owned a brewery. I used to cover football for a living, then I became the mayor. I think it's our duty, it's our service as a city, as private enterprise, to invest in people who certainly have invested in us in some way, shape, or form. So I think there's just the element of duty to do that. I think the most effective mayors know what they know and know what they don't know. Every decision we make is something that we need to be able to defend, even when it's not fun. Even when you got to give difficult news. I'm liberated and empowered by the idea that I can wake up every day and say, I don't care about being the president one day. I don't care about, I'm doing this because I love this community, period. And if this is all I do, great. The classic thing, you hire for attitude and train for skill. Nostalgia, I always say, is the enemy of progress. Because this is how we've always done it.
They served in the military. They served in all branches, some in combat roles, some in other roles. Men and women, and eventually they leave the service and start new careers. One mayor is working to make sure that those that served get a fair chance and a helping hand to move on to their life once they're out of the military. Welcome to the Good Government Show. I'm Dave Martin. First, help us share the message of good government by liking us and sharing us where we are. We're on Facebook, we're on X, YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Please share our show with your friends and review us right here where you're listening. A good review would be nice. And join our Good Government Show community. Check out our website for the link. I met Pensacola, Florida Mayor D.C. Reeves at the Conference of Mayors at a conference earlier this year. He had just come out of moderating a breakout session called Hiring America's Heroes, Harnessing the Power of the Veteran Workforce. That's what we talked about. As Mayor Reeves will tell you, if you fly a plane or work on a plane for the Navy or the Marines, at some point you were stationed in Pensacola. It's a huge Navy town. He says the military presence in Pensacola makes up like 40% of the city's economy. His city puts vets to work. He says what vets bring to any job is a sense of accountability and instant credibility. He says hiring people who can manage people is a smart way to make a quality hire. He also says there's a lot of misconceptions about veterans in the workforce. Look past that, he says, and look at the veterans and see what they can bring to a new role. And it turns out he's a former newspaper reporter who covered, of all things, Florida State football. So go Noles. We talked before the football season kicked off, but sadly, the discussion about the Seminole football team might still be, accurate this season too. But the season's not over. Yet. Not yet. Coming up, my conversation with D.C. Reeves, Mayor of Pensacola, Florida. The Good Government Show is sponsored by Our. That's O-U-R for Our Community. Get involved. We hear that all the time from government leaders. Our co-brands with your government's name and logo. Your staff and the people you serve are connected and part of your community. From any device, your members provide reliable data and meaningful feedback. Ask a question like, do we want more parkland or better homeless services? More engaged conversations come through the Our app. Visit Ourco, that's OURCO.com, and book a demonstration. It was called the War to End All Wars, but it didn't. 3 royal cousins, all kings, one from England, one from Germany, and one from Russia, blundered their way into a war, a completely avoidable war that left millions dead in the trenches across Europe. Good Government Show executive producer Jim Ludlow details the blunders, mistakes, and bluster that started World War I that didn't end all wars. The book, The Royal Cousins, details the events and creates an alternative history. Imagine if World War I never happened. It didn't have to. Just read it yourself. Download the book today on Amazon. It's just 99 cents and a timely look at history. Welcome to the Good Government Show. I have with me D.C. Reeves, the mayor of Pensacola, Florida. Welcome to the Good Government Show. Nice to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And also a fellow Seminole, Florida State University.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Go Noles, yes.
Yeah, it's a tough year this past year.
We're you know what? We have a very good golf team, a very good women's softball team.
Fair enough.
Golf team is going well.
We'll get a little amnesia to the fall.
Volleyball, baseball is going well.
Exactly.
So, the rugby team is doing very well. So we're all good. Are you from Pensacola originally?
I am. Yeah, I was born and raised in Pensacola and actually was a sports writer. That's what I did most of my professional career. Covered Florida State. I was the editor of the school paper there.
The Osceola or something else?
Yeah, the FS View. It was called the Florida Flambeau back in the day.
Oh, the Flambeau.
Yeah, and then I went home, worked at the News Journal for 4 years, back to Tallahassee at War Chant, the big FSU website.
Right.
And then got hired by Tuscaloosa News, covered Alabama for 2 years, and then moved back home in 2015. So most of my life has been spent in Pensacola, but I've been back for about 10 years.
All right, great. And nice to see a newspaper reporter who's moved on and is doing well.
Yeah, it helps me at the press conferences.
Good.
I usually know what they might be asking.
So the reason why I wanted to talk with you is because you just came out of a seminar. We're here at the Conference of Mayors. That's all the background noise. And you talked about hiring vets. Mm-hmm. Tell me about this program, because this is good government in action.
Yeah, look. Pensacola, Florida, and Florida House District 1 has the largest single collection of veterans of any congressional district in the United States of America. So what does that mean simply? I can tell you the city of Pensacola alone, because of just one of those military installations, Pensacola Naval Air Station, is 40% of our economy. And
this is a huge Navy base, if you don't know. Pensacola is a huge Navy town, huge Navy base, huge Navy population.
And it's called the cradle of naval aviation. And the way to put it is, if you, in the Navy or Marines, if you fly anything or work on anything that flies, you spend time learning how to do that in Pensacola, Florida. So we have lots of veterans who are there 30, 40 years ago, and then they see our beautiful beach and they come back and retire.
Right.
In all different walks and moments in life, just my city alone, 40% of the economy is fueled by our military base. And so this is, of course, a geographic important priority for us. But as our conversation with fellow mayors all over the country is this is about putting good people and putting our heroes in jobs. I mean, at the end of the day, quality of life is important for every citizen we have. But it takes some intentionality to say, we're going to make a concerted effort to take the heroes and all the skills that they built through our government, through their time in service. How can we translate that for them to be successful and build quality of life and build quality within our city governments, for example, so I had my city administrator, Tim Kinsella, who was the former base commander at Pensacola NAS, with me and sharing his story. And so it's definitely an effort in Pensacola, and I'm very encouraged to see the interest in it with mayors around the country.
I know that certainly in the last several years, the military has gone through very difficult times. The servicemen and women have gone through very difficult times. What's the challenges in getting them jobs? I mean, these are people who are well trained, who sacrificed, but yet I know there's mental health issues, there's homeless issues. How do you fix that?
Yeah, and
have you fixed everything?
No, there's no such thing as ever fixing everything. That's right. It's always a work in progress. But and Tim Kinsella, my city administrator, touched on it in our meeting, and says, shared his story and saying, hey, I've been diagnosed with PTSD. That doesn't mean, that's caused any sacrifice to our effort at the city of Pensacola, and kind of beating back some of the stereotypes that we all hear. So, I was not in military service as a civilian, and as someone who owned a business before this, and now running the city, you hear those things.
What about your military family? Is your parents or dad?
My grandfather earned 2 Purple Hearts in World War II. So I've been around military service a long time. And of course, growing up in Pensacola, you're always around,
Would this be a good time to tell you that one of my college roommates grew up in Pensacola? His dad was Navy. He became an Air Force pilot.
Yeah. Right. He lost his way, I guess. I think it's important to point out, when you really look at the data and look at the facts, another misperception that I would say I heard, coming into this job and other jobs is, well, if you've been in military service, you wake up early and you stay, you're prompt and you're on time, and you can't think outside the box. You're so used to this structure. It's just not the case, and the data suggests that. And so, I think the first challenge would be and this isn't just for anybody listening that owns private business, owns companies, is to try to, really past the cursory mention of of what about mental health, what about their ability to be creative, and I would dive deeper and really examine that. There are a lot more positive things that come out of someone serving in the military, and that really would thwart some of those misperceptions that somehow moving into the private world that somehow wouldn't translate.
And what about moving into the public sector, into government? Have you had success in transitioning some of these guys into working for the city?
Yeah, actually, we just had a great conversation.
Not just cops
before.
and firemen.
Right, but we had a great conversation actually with one of the panelists on our panel with the DoD about the cybersecurity training that they're trying to put in. That's actually working both ways. It's can we get more civilians upskilled quickly into cybersecurity jobs, whether that be that they're civilian or military? What we're focused on, and it's a fight we're always going to be in, is how do we continue to provide more assets and more incentives and awareness that for our military population to know that they're welcomed and they're valued. So we continue to work on that. Tim has been with me for 4 months and again has forgotten more than will ever know about how the military operates and the profile of sailors and soldiers. And
is it hard to be not a military person yourself to sort of get inside the head, if you will, of the military?
No, what I feel like is I think the most effective mayors know what they know and know what they don't know. And so we try to bring on, when I went to pick a city administrator, all those myths we talk about, they might be too structured. They might, hey, I was an entrepreneur. I need a little structure in my life, right? So it's knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. And so now
Could you be here on time next time, please?
Exactly. So, to have, to me, my role as a former entrepreneur and business owner means I can provide in this conversation without being military. And it's funny. I'll use a sports analogy. I use this example all the time. Sometimes athletes would get upset, and if you wrote about something, they'd say, "Well, you never played, football at Alabama," or whatever. Right. No one said that to me, but you'd hear that, you never played football, and that was some type of qualifier. And our retort as journalists was always, "Well, I hope you've never reviewed a movie then, unless you're a director." Meaning, if you do something long enough and become familiar enough, you can contribute. So I feel like my lane in this conversation is, I may not know what it's like to serve in the military, but I do know what businesses look for. I do know how to beat back the stigma. Since I know both sides of the glass, I do know how to go to a business owner and say, "Hey, don't overblow this mental health thing because you heard something on TV. Don't assume that all they do is show up on time and leave on time, and they don't know how to critically think." So I look at my role in this more not as the subject matter expert, but as the bridge. To bridge between private enterprise and private investment, and saying that, hey, this is important. And let me tell you why, as a former business owner, I believe this is important. So
what would you tell a business owner about hiring a vet?
What I'd tell you is there are so many amazing things. We tell stories all the time. Tim and I actually were at dinner last night about just the incredible heroism and service during the young soldiers during the terrorist attack on base at Pensacola while he was commander, and the amazing thing that these people did in such a harrowing time. And some of those same people are looking for jobs, and you wouldn't believe what they did that day. And so to me, number one, we should be intentional to honor the people who have protected this country and who are willing to do what many are not, which is put their life on the line. So I think it's our duty, it's our service as a city, as private enterprise, to invest in people who certainly have invested in us in some way, shape, or form. So I think there's just the element of duty to do that, I think, is number one. And number two is, I can just speak from personal experience, both from all the way from the city administrator through some of our department directors, and through being in the geography of Pensacola, Florida, the amazing work that these veterans do and how they transform teams. That's the work I see as a business owner, is when you put them in supervisory roles, and the type of output that you get, the efficiency that you get, and the employee engagement that you get has been, at least anecdotally in my experience, has been a real, the credibility that a military veteran brings into a room, in a private division or a department or in a city department is really amazing. And I get to watch that firsthand.
Is there any area where veterans are especially effective in the private sector or public sector?
I think if we go back to the structure stereotype, let me tell you, which is there is truth to, but it's not that they don't think outside the box. I believe the strength, one, is commanding the respect and clear expectations. I think a lot of times we're all a bureaucracy, okay? Yeah, at some level, whether we want to admit it or not. City governments are a bureaucracy. We want to be as little as possible. Certainly I do in the city of Pensacola. I always say 80% of failure is ambiguity. And when you're leading a city, there's lots of ambiguity sometimes within how your message as the mayor gets conveyed to different departments, all of that. And a lot of it isn't because people are trying to mislead anyone. It's because there isn't clear outlines of accountability and expectation. So I would say the credibility that a veteran has when they walk in the room, especially as a supervisor, as well as to eliminate ambiguity. And in the military, ambiguity is failure as well, as we all know. Yeah. And so to say, hey, here's the expectation of this meeting, here's the expectation of these improvements that we're going to make, all of those things, I feel like that clarity and accountability, it's something that to me, a non-military member won't have that same ability when they walk in a room the way that Tim has when he walks into our room of department directors.
Is there an area that you've seen where they have flourished? Law enforcement, firefighting, technology, housing authority, maintenance? I don't know. Are you seeing it all across the board?
Sure. Yeah. You mentioned it earlier, and it's accurate. Obviously, you'll see a lot of military members in the first response, police and fire. From a skill set standpoint, that seems to be the most natural. But I would say this: every job we have in a city, at the end of the day, and we should probably do a better job of recognizing it, is managing people. Every day, I will take someone who knows how to manage people over an industry expert 100 times out of 100, because, the classic thing, you hire for attitude and train for skill. I would rather have someone that knows how to manage people and how to move them, how to get them to feel good coming in every day. To me, that is the challenge of all leadership. And so no, it's not necessarily, hey, they're, military members are great in public works or in sanitation or in police or in fire, but they are great at managing people and setting expectations. And I think that really cross-pollinates around every department.
All right, we have a question here. I'm gonna get to it quickly.
Yes.
And we're gonna come back. Once you wrap up this episode of The Good Government Show, give a listen to our friends over at Good News for Lefties. This daily podcast highlights news stories that show there's more good news out there. Other people in government are really trying to do the right thing. That's Good News for Lefties. Listen where you're listening now. After you get done with this episode, hear more good government stories with our friends at How to Really Run a City. Former mayors Kasim Reed of Atlanta and Michael Nutter of Philadelphia and their co-host, journalist and author Larry Platt, talk with guests and other mayors about how to really get stuff done in cities around the nation. Check them out where you're listening now or through their nonprofit news site, thephiladelphiacitizen.org/podcasts. So here's our question here. I'm going to try to do this short, and you talk too long. So this is not my fault that we're running late. Your answers have been very complete. Go ahead. Define good government. How long have you been mayor, and how long have you been inside government now?
Yeah, so I've been mayor for a little over 2 years.
Okay.
So from November of 22, and this is my first role in government, first job in government.
So define good government.
Hey, at the end of the day, I believe, and I'll say this uniquely as a business owner turned mayor. I forget I'm in politics sometimes. It hasn't been that long since I was in private business. But,
is that a good thing?
Yeah. Sometimes good, sometimes not. But here, at the end of the day, what I believe a citizen should expect from their mayor, from at whatever level, is when we're making business decisions and initiative decisions about your community, is we should be treating these dollars and treating these people as if they were ours. And I mean, as if they were our family, our dollars as if they were our own. And I know that sounds simplistic to say, well, wouldn't we all? No, not necessarily. I mean, there's lots of things where, I wake up every day feeling the responsibility to say, every decision we make is something that we need to be able to defend, even when it's not fun, even when you got to give difficult news, that our center at good government should be, in the roller coaster of optics and media and stories and where our city is going, we should always be able to look someone in the eye and say, hey, you may not like this, what we're doing in parking or with your garbage or with your parks. But what I can tell you is I can guarantee you that the decisions that we make are data driven and we treat your money like as if it was my own money. And I think that is very, very important, that you should be able to have the transparency in decision making that shows exactly that.
How do you know if you're doing a good job? I mean, you're 2 years away from an election. How do you know? In the meantime,
Facebook comments.
Facebook comments. Yeah.
No,
that's a good yardstick.
Well, my joke would normally be, well, as long as half the people are mad at me for one side and half are mad at me for the other, I must be doing a good job. Okay. You can poll, you can get a sense of what things are going on, but I worry secondarily about what's my approval rating or all of that, because at the end of the day, I signed up to do this job because I'm going to grow old in the city of Pensacola. It's where I'm from. It's where my 10-year-old is going to grow up. And so I'm liberated and empowered by the idea that I can wake up every day and say, I don't care about being the president one day. I don't care about, I'm doing this because I love this community, period. And if this is all I do, great. If not, we don't measure it much. We continue to make data-driven decisions. We continue to treat your dollars as if they were our own dollars on our wallet and the care that we would expect those to be taken with. So we don't worry about that.
How should people hold you accountable in the job that you say you're going to do and the things that you say you're going to do? And if they don't like what they're seeing, what should they do?
Well, I'll give an example that's top of mind for us right now. We have a citywide strategic plan for the first time ever. And I told our community, why do people roll their eyes when they say, oh, another plan, collect dust on a shelf, those types of things? Well, it's because the mayor's supposed to be the implementer of it. And coming from journalism, there's an expected level of transparency. There's an expected level of being able to defend decisions that you have. And I think our administration's built a really good reputation in Pensacola to say that when we're coming forward with something, there aren't flippant, willy-nilly decisions. I mean, these are decisions that are data-based, evidence-based, and we're willing to stand in the fire and defend those because we feel that those are things that are good for our community. I feel like the role of a mayor should be, even when it's not fun, is to be transparent, to be forthcoming about what you said you're going to do, and to be accountable.
2 years in, what have you learned about government that you didn't know now that you're in the job?
Well, we all come in with the noble intent to make things go faster, I
think I know where this is going.
And as a guy that was in private business, where when I owned my business before, I could wake up the next day and decide to pivot immediately, and that be that. But that does not work necessarily in government. That shouldn't be a rationale for inaction. There are ways that we've sped it up. We look at our procurement, our permitting processes the way a business owner would. So we're proud of our track record of decreasing it, but there's lots of legitimate reasons why things take a little bit longer to do sometimes. And, whether it be procurement, making sure everybody's got an opportunity, making sure veterans have an opportunity in their businesses to bid on contracts, for example. So there's things that just naturally are not going to be avoidable. The way that as a former entrepreneur, you'd walk in and think you could just change it all and make things happen overnight. So I would say that's probably been the hardest one to get over, is even when we started to narrow some of those deltas still exist nonetheless.
Where do you get your news from?
From a variety of sources. I feel like as a mayor, we should have a duty to not just listen to news from the place that we agree with most, but to hear different perspectives, because we represent different people across our city.
Who inspires you? Do you have a political hero?
Honestly, everyone can get on here and say Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan and all those things as a Republican mayor. Obviously, I mean, I think those kind of go without saying. But honestly, some of the heroes that I have are folks locally that have just figured out a way to lead a community with honor.
Do you have people that you call on that you can,
of course,
check in on?
Our former state senator Doug Broxson, he became the first appropriations chair in the for our area. Remember, we're if you don't know where Pensacola, Florida is, we're the closest city to Arizona and California in Florida. We are all the way. We're 8 hours to Houston and 9 hours to Miami, just to give you a perspective.
Okay.
So we are way up by the Alabama state line, and so the
Gulf Coast of Florida. The
that's
Gulf
right.
of Mexico.
Yeah, the very western point of the Panhandle, and so it's rare. Sometimes we got to punch above our weight class when it comes to state politics. Right, we sometimes get forgotten in conversations about Jacksonville and Orlando and Tampa and Miami. So we had Appropriations Chair Doug Broxson, that District 1 appropriations for the Florida Senate, which hadn't happened in 50 years. Why is that? Because he's a great guy that serves with honor and credibility and trust, and so I know I'll never be as accomplished as example as Doug Broxson has been in terms of him being I got some years to go. I'm 40, but I look at some of these local officials that have been effective and they can do it in an honorable way.
Did you ever imagine you were going to run for office? I mean, you said you started out as a sports reporter.
Yeah, so my dad was in his 20s, was in the state legislature back in 1967, 60. He's 86 now. So I don't remember any of that. I wasn't born. He was a city councilman. I was never around when he was an active politician.
Okay.
But of course, you're around politics after that. And so I got indoctrinated. I joked, I listened to enough cell phone conversations with the bag cell phone, that my dad would Velcro out and you don't realize till you're knocking doors, that how much you sponge up, so I was around politics, but no, I mean, if I was on this radio show 3 years ago, I would have said no, or 4 years ago, I would have said, I'm not running for anything. So,
what turned you around?
Yeah, well, honestly, I always try to do, I think God puts me in a position to do the next right thing, and so people say, what are your political aspirations? I said, none. I'm going to focus on this job, and that's not filibustering or that I've got some grand plan. The liberating feeling that I'm doing this and I can be done in politics, that's okay, or maybe I won't be, but that the job at hand is to make decisions that are best for the city of Pensacola. So this is all. I owned a brewery before. I was a sports writer before, so I'll have a high school kid will say, "Hey, did you major in political science?" I was like, "No, the opposite of that. I owned a brewery. I used to cover football for a living. Then I became the mayor."
All right, 2 questions to go.
Yes,
it's been a while since I've been to Pensacola. What's the best thing to eat in Pensacola? Where are we going? What do you got?
Oh man. Well, it's funny. We have a ton of great restaurants. Union Public House was top of mind because I just was there. Awesome food. But what happens. Everybody comes to visit and says, take us to the best seafood place.
Right.
Grand Marlin on the beach is great. Pearl and Horn in town is great.
What's your order there?
I'm not as adventurous a seafood eater as you should be as a Pensacolan, but I am. There's some. You can get some nice mahi, some nice snapper right out of the Gulf. So I'll usually go to a fish. I'm not an oyster guy. I was
just going to ask about oysters.
No, I'm not adventurous enough.
I was an oyster shucker at the first. Come on.
Oh, there you go. Okay, well then I'll save the oysters for you.
All right, very good. We have not talked at all about Pensacola, and I guess we'll have to have another conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
A couple of years down the road when you've really grown into the job. But give me an example of some good government that you've been able to get through in your city, in Pensacola.
Yeah, I think the first and foremost, like you would in any business, we took a fine-tooth comb of looking through how we compensate people and the size of government. I'll give an example. We looked at our salaries when we got to the city of Pensacola, and we realized our workforce at the city was in the 20th percentile in governments, not in private. So 4 out of 5 governments paid more than we did. And so how do we solve that?
And that affects your ability to hire people and police officers and workers and
provide the service that you expect with your tax money.
Right.
So, it's funny. Someone may hear that and say, well, wait a second, Mayor, you're saying, this is good, efficient government by spending more money. It is. And here's why. Because number one, what you don't want is empty positions on your police department and your fire department. Right. At the end of the day, we need to provide the service of which your tax dollars are contributing to. But I would say within that, we started to focus on quality and less on quantity. So while we did that, we also eliminated 24 positions to say, oh, well, just because we've always had this job, nostalgia, I always say is the enemy of progress, well, because this is how we've always done it. And so I thought we took really a business perspective of saying, let's pay these jobs the way they need to be paid. And that also means getting government a little bit smaller and saying that doesn't just mean let's add 50 more jobs, and government can fall into that trap. Local government can fall into that trap. So we focused on quality and less on quantity. And we've really started to see the results in employee engagement and productivity because we've been very, very busy on lots of big generational projects. And we've been able to do that. Why? Because we're paying people enough money to be able to do those jobs.
Was there an issue that you ran on?
Well, public safety is always going to be number one. It was 3: safety, housing, and jobs. And as a native Pensacolian, we knew that what is our community without public safety? Nothing. I mean, no initiative I can tell you about. I can give you 100 in Pensacola. None of them matter. And we were actually picked the number 4 safest city in the United States. So.
I really am trying to wrap this up for you,
sure,
but
go ahead.
I have to ask you this question.
Please.
Housing is an issue across the nation. What are you doing in Pensacola to make it better?
We have to attack housing at every level. And where we as citizens fall into the trap is we think, only if affordable housing units are built, is that helping the affordable housing crisis? Absolutely not true. I would recommend anybody interested in this topic listening to research that we have a supply issue, period. So what kind of housing will I take in Pensacola? I'll take homeless transitional to $2 million condos. I'll take them all. And because we will not solve this by choosing only 80% AMI or only 120 or only veterans or only seniors. We need all of it. So our doors should collectively be open to incentivizing the growth of bringing on more units, because when 100 units come into a city within 3 years, that creates organically 41 affordable units, 100 market rate, 100 new condos just come into your town. 41 within 3 years are going to be open for affordable because of the migration to market. So that's what I would say is we need to educate ourselves as citizens, as leaders, that this is not a one-step approach to say build more affordable housing. So what are we doing? We've got literally 6 different projects attacking it at every single income level.
DC Reeves, the mayor of Pensacola, Florida, thank you, and good luck in your continued success in getting veterans work. We owe it to them. Right?
All right. Hey, thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Thank you. I think I did it in time. Thanks very much. Want to hear more about good government? Check out another show I host, Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. I host the show with Brad Kavanaugh, mayor of Dubuque, Iowa, and the immediate past president of the Iowa League of Cities. Together, we talk to leaders in Iowa cities. We talk about what works and what good government looks like in Iowa. Join us right here where you're listening now. That's Leading Iowa, Good Government in Iowa Cities. When we hire military veterans, what we're doing is taking those that served all of us and all the skills they acquired and putting them to work. And for those who work in government, we're putting them back to work for all of us again. You hire for attitude and you train for skill. I like that explanation of how to hire. I also liked his approach to refining government, especially his approach to jobs. He said, nostalgia can be the enemy of progress. And surely that won't go over with everyone, but there is something to be said for that approach to government. I also liked his answer to what is good government. He said you treat the money you're spending like it's your own. That means you think about where your hard-earned dollars are going, and you make sure you're not wasting your own money. Sounds like good government to me. Now, I need to go back to Pensacola for some good fresh fish, probably caught just a few hours before it was on my plate. Well, that's our show. Thanks for listening. Please like us and share us with your friends, and review us right here where you're listening. And check out our website, goodgovernmentshow.com, for extras. Help us keep telling stories of good government in action everywhere. Join us again for another episode right here. I'm Dave Martin, and this is The Good Government Show. Did it. The Good Government Show is a Valley Park production. Jim Ludlow, Dave Martin, that's me, and David Snyder are the executive producers. Our show is edited and produced by Jason Stershic. Please subscribe, then share us, and like us and review us. That's the best way to make sure we're able to keep telling these stories of our government working for all of us. Then listen to the next episode of The Good Government Show.